Sometimes my emotions, they get the best.
Hey, what's up? It's the Big D. Just getting on here today. Let me get my eyes in the right place for the camera. hopefully this is about the right spot. New Year's Day was yesterday, so happy New Year's to everybody who was celebrating the new year and everybody who made it with us. Congratulations, you here in 2025. All we're gonna do is try to do things better, have better perspectives, use our brain and function in a different way, take care of our body, take care of our mental, take care of our spiritual. I wish everybody prosperity, good health, because that's a very important thing. And do your resolutions. Mine is to drink more water. So if you haven't been drinking water like you should, drink more water. We'll get into that a little bit later here, but we're going to be talking about a subject today that's going to be kind of interesting and important. I think it's on a lot of guys' minds. When we get divorced, we go through the big D. Oh man, it's tough. It's tough out here dating, right? We got to figure out now, you kind of got divorced or you got separated and you're looking and you're like, oh man, I'm free now. What can I do? What can I do now? Like, in a way, you kind of like a kid in a candy store because you're realizing like, oh wow, like the world is open to me. I can go meet women. I can go to the bar and meet women. I can go to the club and meet women. I can go, to a restaurant and holler at a woman there at the bar or something. You feel like, oh, I'm free again, and you remember kind of maybe when you was dating when you was young, in your 20s or your teens and your 20s or whatever, and how that used to go and the lovey-dovey feelings and all that kind of stuff. And you want that again. You want to kind of have that feeling again and that energy again. But man, it can be tough. So this is probably really for the guys that are 35 years old plus. Anybody who's below 35, the game's probably just a little bit different for you. I would say even 33 to 35. It seems like it's getting younger now for me anyway. Like, where it's not as easy to date, right? When you're younger, you can make some mistakes. You're going to hang out with girls and it's not going to work out and it's going to be crazy and wild and all that. And, she can be busting your windows out your car or flattening your tires or something, if you get into it like that. It can happen, right? So, but you kind of bounce back through that. You're kind of in a learning phase. But once you hit about 33, 35, you're not looking for that drama, right? You just like, man, I don't got time for this. I got my career. I might have my kids that I'm looking after. I got like little assets I'm building. I'm building my little portfolios. Maybe it's crypto, maybe it's stocks, options, whatever you're doing. Your mind frame is not into the wild dating period anymore. You're looking for something a little more stable. So that's what we're going to kind of get into today. I got a couple of topics down here. I got my screens over here in front of me. So if you kind of see me looking over there, that's what I'm looking at, just to make sure that I'm hitting certain points or whatever. We might get into a few things here and there that might not be on the sheet or whatever, but I'm gonna try to get into this for you today. So here we go. What are we gonna talk about first? Let's see. All right, so some of us, like myself, might actually end up as a single father, right? Even if the kids don't live with you, you still got kids, right? You're still gonna have them in your life. They're gonna be coming to visit you. You might get them every other weekend or something like that, depending on what your visitation is, or you might get them a few times a week or something like that. But they're gonna be in your life. And now, with you trying to date, you might find out that a lot of girls are not interested in that. When they find out that you have kids, that means a couple of things. That means that there's probably a baby's mama involved, or an ex-wife involved, or an ex-girlfriend or something is involved. So a lot of girls are not going to be too welcoming of that. I found that out, as a single father. My daughter really was 18. My son was 12 when I got divorced. So they were older, they wasn't, they weren't like babies where you got to watch them all the time and, you got to make them brush their teeth and bathe them and all that kind of stuff or whatever. They were able to move on their own. So like if I go out, I can leave them home if I needed to. I can leave my daughter home with my son or whatever. She's 18, he's 12 or whatever. He's cool. He's not one to get into a lot of stuff. So I was able to go out on my own or whatever. So I'll relate a story to you about a situation where I ran into where I kind of found out. So me and my homeboys met some girls or whatever like that. We were at a convention or whatever. You met these girls right there in my hometown in Orlando. And so we invited them out. I actually invited the girl out. I met the first girl and invited her out. And I thought she was going, I was like, yeah, bring your friends or whatever like that. I got a couple of friends or whatever. They're going to come out with us or whatever. So you can bring your friends. It'll be fun. We'll go to a restaurant or whatever. So we figured out what restaurant we was going to go to or whatever. And, I get there. We get there, the three or, what was it, four of us? Yeah, I don't know if Anthony was with us. But it was at least three of us, myself, my guy Mario, and the other homie, I forget his name. I can see his face. Paris. So we get there to the restaurant and all that. And then so she pulls up and she got a bunch of people with her, man. So I'm looking like, yo, like who are all these people? And then I'm noticing kids. And I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know that she had kids, which is cool to me or whatever. We just meeting these people or whatever. So she pull up, another chick pulls up or whatever, which turns out to be her sister, actually her younger sister, but it was the little big sister because she was bigger than her, whatever. So I'm like, okay, so you brought your little big sister with you. And then there's like 3 or 4 other kids. And then there's another girl that I didn't really find out a whole lot about her because she was sitting way at the other end or whatever. Yeah, Anthony was here. Anthony was there because I think he was sitting down there with her. So it turned out like she's there with her sister, and then she brought the kids was like her little brothers and sisters. And I'm like, I'm looking, I'm like, okay, why are you out with your little brothers and sisters? That's kind of a weird dynamic. Like most of the time when you go out, you're not going to be out with like your siblings and young siblings too. We're talking like, 8 years old, 7, 8, maybe even a little younger than that. So, we just chatting and stuff like that. I don't know if we got our food yet or whatever, but we just chatting or whatever. And maybe waiting on the food or whatever like that. And so she happened to ask me, did I have kids? And I was like, yeah, I got 2 kids or whatever like that. And, I gave her the ages and all that stuff. And she immediately was uninterested. She is like, her whole demeanor changed and she was off to something else or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. So it kind of hit me right in the face right then and there in the restaurant. Like, oh, wow. It's like, there's going to be situations where they don't want you to have kids. But I'm sitting there and I'm looking like, hold up, man. You came here, you don't have kids yourself. You've never been married. You don't have kids yourself, which is cool. But you here with your little brothers and sisters. Like, it got to be at least like 3 of those. And your older, little big sister was with you too. It's like, almost like you couldn't leave the house unless you went with them. So I'm like, how you gonna clown me? And I'm here, I got kids, but they at home and they straight doing their thing at home. And you clowning me, but you out here with them. You know what I'm saying? So, and so the rest of the night, it was like, she didn't pay me any attention. She like latched on to my friend Paris, who had a real nice car or whatever. I think he was driving the Audi at that point. He had a little truck, and then he had the Audi too. So whatever. So I think she latched on to that, and she was just all over him all night or whatever. And that's the homie. So it's like that's not gonna work. Like my homie's not gonna be like, oh, yeah, let me holler at you, let me get your number or whatever like that. He might have got her number, she gave it to him or whatever like that, but he's like, yo, I ain't call her. So, but we could see what she was on because it was almost like she's a little bit materialistic, to begin with, because we could see like once she saw the car, she mentally made a beeline. She wanted to take pictures in front of the car and all this kind of stuff. What was I driving back then? I think I had my Lincoln MKZ. I had bought a Toyota. I had a Camry at one point. All of us, me, Mario, and Paris got in an accident coming back from Miami or whatever. And so I ended up getting a Lincoln MKZ because I wanted a car that was sat a little heavier on the road because I kind of, hit a rough patch or a wet patch or something coming from Miami or whatever. We spun out and all that stuff, and it kind of traumatized me a little bit. I bought a Hyundai Sonata, brand spanking new off the showroom floor. I drove it for like a week, and it just felt so light. I couldn't I just felt like I wasn't safe, and so I took it back and I ended up getting a Lincoln MKZ because it felt like it just was heavier on the road or something. And it was beautiful. Like the car was beautiful, leather seats, all the bells and whistles, heated seats, the whole 9 yards. It was dope. I really still like that car. So it wasn't like I didn't have a decent car too. It's like, I wasn't driving a bucket. I was driving a nice car. You just really kind of, wouldn't stand out to you like, maybe the Audi did, because he had a little sporty one. And I'm still trying to figure out which one he had, because it was really sporty. It wasn't a coupe. It was a 4-door, but it was really sporty too. So I don't know which one it was, but, he had that. So, but she just gravitated to that. And I could just see like, okay, this is going to be a little bit of a challenge. This is like the first time I actually invited anybody out. And she was younger. I was what, 38, maybe 39 at that point. And she probably was 28 to 29 or whatever. So there was a little bit of an age difference there. So that's going to be something that we got to keep in mind too. If we're 35 plus and we're looking, what's the age difference that we're willing to kind of work with? So yeah, so we're talking about what's too much as an age difference. I got a friend that's in his 50s that's dating somebody who's in their early 20s. He's handling that relationship the way that he handles it. I think that he's got that in hand pretty good. But it's a big age gap. I didn't even realize that the age gap was so great, until I actually went to her birthday. I went to her birthday celebration or whatever, and that's when I found out how old she was. I was like, oh shit, like I didn't realize like he's that it was that much of a gap. But so to each his own. Everybody's gonna make it to work the way they want it to work. But if there's gonna be that age difference, you gotta understand that there's gonna be pressure from the public. So that's something that you gotta think about. Like, can you handle what's gonna come with the age difference? How people are gonna look at you? Some people do really well with that. Some people are like, you know what? I don't care what people think of me. I don't care if they're looking at us or whatever. I don't even notice that. There's some people got a real thick skin and they can kind of deal with that. But then there's going to be other people that are kind of like notice how people check them out, especially if she's a good looking girl, because you're going to have dudes looking at her. You're going to have other women looking at her, kind of grilling and looking crazy too. So, that's going to be something that you're going to endure publicly. And you got to understand like what your personality is and what your tolerance level is going to be for the judgment that you're going to get. You're going to get comments online. You might get comments from family, people that don't necessarily agree with the age difference, or the people that say, oh, you groomed her and all this kind of stuff, which is ridiculous. Two adults making a decision about what they're going to do with their lives and if they're going to be together. I don't think that falls under grooming. Now, it can in a certain way. I feel like it can in a certain way if his particular thought process is like, I want to get somebody who's young so that I can rule over her and be a disciplinarian with her and make her obey me, or try to be the king of the castle type thing. There's a lot of that red pill stuff going around now, and it's kind of pushing guys towards that way, and I kind of see that. And I'm like, that's not something I really agree with. That's not something that works for me or something that I would like promote. So I see that. And it's like, yeah, you want somebody who's submissive to you, but you got to understand what submission is, right? But a lot of guys take that to the nth degree, like, oh, you're going to do what I say when I say jump, and jump how high I say to jump type thing. And that's not the way that you really want to kind of approach this, especially if she's a younger girl, because there's going to be things that she don't understand yet. There's going to be experiences that she hasn't had yet. Is she going to be able to keep up with you when you're like, I can make a decision really quickly because I've seen this situation before. I got the experience, and I know how to kind of handle it. Is she going to be able to stay up to speed with you? Or is she going to be questioning everything that you're doing, or questioning why you're doing it a certain way, or how you're doing certain things? Are you going to be able to listen to her and take some of the thought processes that she has and incorporate that into what you would do as far as your decision making? Because you can't make her feel like she doesn't have any say. That's going to be a real problem. Especially when they get to that age where they're like, 28, 29, 30, they're starting to develop their sense for the world, and they're starting to have experiences and things like that, and they want to kind of assert themselves or whatever. So you got to kind of have that balance. I think that it's all about balance. If you're going to be an older guy and you have a younger woman, then I feel like you got to have that kind of balance, and you got to kind of respect that. She's going to have some knowledge, or maybe come from a place where, you know, maybe her education is different. You know, maybe she's got university education or something, and she kind of, you know, feels like that qualifies her to kind of make decisions in a certain way. Maybe she's analytical in a certain way because of what her degree is and how she's kind of processes things, because how she learned how to process. You know, look at what her family situation has been. Did she have a father in the home who made decisions a certain way, and now she's looking at you like to make decisions like her father made? You're not her daddy, obviously. I mean, sometimes you, but not in that way. You know what I mean? So you're not really her father. So you're not going to make the same decisions that he made. You're not going to have the same experiences that he had. You don't maybe have the same resources that he had. Maybe he could have had less. Maybe he could have had more. You gotta take in consideration all of those things, and really just kind of be flexible if you're gonna have that age gap dynamic going on. You got to figure out if that person is going to fit with your lifestyle too. I like to come to work every day. I like to get up early, take care of business in the house, get over here to the office, do my thing. It's like I wake up with this energy to move and go get things done and get work done. My girl, she doesn't live with me, and that's probably a good thing. And one of the main reasons why is because she's going to sleep in and sleep late. You know, and they're probably not going to get up and start moving around to maybe 12 o'clock. You know, they're not even really kind of fully functioning at that point in time. By 12 o'clock, I'm doing so many things. By noon, I'm doing a lot of things. So, you know, it's different because she's got the kids and they go to school or whatever. That's different. But right now it's the summertime. So, you know, the kids are not in school or whatever. Not a whole lot going on. So they don't have that schedule. But I'm still on, regardless of what's going on. I'm still on, getting up early and moving around. So it's like, are you going to be able to keep up with her? And is she going to be able to keep up with you? That's going to be something that you're going to watch for. And is she going to be able to understand your lifestyle? Is she going to understand that you got to go to the office and work every day, or you got to go to your construction site and work every day, and get this money so that she can get the things that she wants, right? Is she going to be real clingy? Is she going to need your attention all the time? Or is she going to be somebody who kind of has a life of her own and she can move and shake in her world, and then when you guys come back together at the end of the day, you guys are together? Is she working? Is she employed? What are her ambitions like? What are the things that she wants to do? And how are you assisting her with that? You know, that type of thing. So there's a lot comes with the age differences. As older dudes, we're kind of looked at like we should have some resources to kind of bring to the relationship to kind of help her get to a place where she's comfortable, she's stable within our relationship, which also should be stable. So do you guys share the same interest? Do you want to go to the movies and just chill out or whatever? That's cool for you, but she likes to go to the park and be outdoorsy. She might be somebody who wants to go to clubs still. Who's going to have fun in the club scene or whatever. Is that something that you can handle as a man? Because either you're going to go with her and feel comfortable going with her because that works for you and that's kind of the lifestyle that you live already, or you're going to kind of have to maybe like force yourself into that lifestyle just to accommodate her, to make her happy, especially in the beginning. You want to seem like, oh, okay, I'm young and I'm hip and I'm, you know, whatever, but, you know, you might be in the booth, you know, nodding off a little bit. You know, yeah, even if you have a couple drinks, you know, it might put you in a situation where, you know, you might be falling asleep in there, you know, where they just getting started partying, you know. So I know me, like, you know, at my age, 53, I don't really want to be out after 9, 10 o'clock or whatever like that. I might go sometimes or whatever like that, but by about midnight, it's like, yo, it's time to pack it in, you know, whereas a lot of these clubs, a lot of things don't start until like 11. Where I live here in Rio, like you might not even start getting ready till 11. So, and be out after that time or whatever. I just don't want to be in the fray of that. I don't feel like nothing good happens after about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Ain't nobody out there but the devil. So, so things ain't gonna go right. That's when things go wrong or whatever. I don't want no part of it. I don't need that in my life. So, but is she the kind of person that's gonna like that and want to be out there or whatever? How are you gonna navigate that? Do you share that same interest? Here we got a lot of beaches. So we got a lot of people that like to be outdoors. They like to be on the beach. We was on the beach yesterday, and it's like they want to lay out in the sun and all that kind of stuff. Do they want to, does she want to do that? And are you a beach person? It could be you are, it could be you're not. You got to figure out what your interests are, where they align, and if you're going to be able to kind of, deal with this person and be comfortable in her spaces. And is she going to be comfortable in your spaces? Because you might want to go like, out here we got the Roxy or whatever, and that's kind of like I call it like a speakeasy club or whatever. It used to be like a theater or whatever, but now they renovated and everything, opened it maybe about 2 months ago again. It's a beautiful place. I haven't been there, but it's like dinner and a show, theater type stuff. You go to dinner, there's music and there's somebody acting and they're doing a show and all this kind of stuff. That's cool, but that might be something for an older generation. Like if she's into the club or whatever, that might be boring to her. So can I take her there? I don't know. She might like it because it might feel a little luxurious or whatever, and you spending money or whatever, but it might not be a thing that she wants to do all the time, right? So you got to figure out if your interests really align with one another, and if you guys are going to be able to keep your heads, at the same level, and you're going to be able to keep things at the same level. So now let's get into these resources, right? The one thing you got to figure out is she looking for you or is she looking just for your wallet? Because older men kind of get this thing where it's like, we've been working for a while. Maybe we got a career. We're a little more established. We might have the nice car. We might have the house. I don't know, after the divorce, we might end up with the house. We may not, but we're still probably going to end up with a decent living situation. It's going to maybe look like more money than maybe it is sometimes. And we may have access to credit cards. We may have access to finances, and we may have a business or something, that's generating money. And even though we know that it's taking care of our budget, we're taking care of our bills. We might be taking care of child support. We might be taking care of, maybe alimony. Some people might be paying some alimony, or taking care of, so a parent maybe, because we're at that age where our parents health starts to break down a little bit, and we got to try to take care of them too. So we might be kicking some money that way, for health and all that stuff. So we might look like we have resources. We got a lot going on or whatever. So we kind of come with that, right? As older men, we kind of come with, that ability to get things done. And so it's going to look to a woman like, okay, maybe I should attach myself to this because it looks like there's resources there. And the thing that you want to know most is she there for you or is she there for your wallet? So I think one of the important things that you're going to have to do pretty early is establish some boundaries. Now, what do we mean by that? Like, if you got a budget and you know that I got to stick by this budget and I got to pay my bills on a monthly basis, I don't want to get behind, I don't need to be late on nothing or whatever. My life functions great when I'm on time and I've paid all my bills. I have no stress from bills or whatever because I'm able to pay everything. You want to keep that. You don't want to be overextending yourself and paying for stuff for her if it's putting you outside of your budget. Every once in a while, you're going to have that emergency thing or whatever. Maybe she needs a little help or whatever like that, and you can help her out with that. But you don't want to overextend yourself just because you're enamored with her and she's so beautiful that you're afraid to lose her. And this is something that I see quite a bit. As men, we tend to hold on to relationships and try to hold on to women because we almost have this a feeling of scarcity. We feel like there's no more women in the world. And if I don't have this one, or I finally got this one, and I got to keep her. I got to do everything I can to keep her at all costs. And that's the wrong thing to do. I think the right thing to do is make sure she knows that you're autonomous, you have a life, and that if she's going to be in your life, she's going to be in your life a certain way. And she's not going to be there just to spend your money crazy and to bankrupt you. That's something that you need to be in control of. You're in control of that. No matter how much she cries and how much she pouts and, oh, I need this and I need that. Her problems cannot become your problems, especially financial ones. Yes, we're concerned. Yes, we like to help, but we do that within the parameters of our budget. We don't do that outside of our budget, because if she's not stable enough to take care of herself a certain way and you are, what happens when you become unstable? Now we have two people that are not able to handle their finances. And this happens a lot. Like, I see this even with guys that are going overseas and stuff like that, coming over to places like Brazil or maybe Thailand or the Philippines or whatever. And I don't want to just pick on them because it's pretty much all over the world. But they're picking up women who are in need. Maybe they recognize they have more resources, and so they kind of latch on to a person and begin to spend. They say, oh, you have this much money saved, so this means that we have money to spend. They're not thinking about the future. And if they're spending your money and it's your money and your budget, it gets screwed up, they can just walk away because they don't have anything invested in it. So it just becomes your problem. It's like all of their problems are your problem, and so you're paying. You're solving her family's problems. You're buying houses and real estate, and you're putting people in business, and you're doing all of these things, and you're investing. And then what happens? At the end, when there's no more money left, they just leave you for someone else, because they've gotten everything out of you that they can get out of you. So whether you're in the United States or wherever you are, that's not what you want. You want to be in control of your budget. So I think the best thing that you need to learn how to do is to say no. And see how they treat you when you tell them no. Because that tells you a lot about who this person is. And if they can't handle you telling them no, then you might want to cut that relationship. Because they're there for a very specific reason. They're there just for you to take care of their challenges and issues for them. And that's not what you want. You don't want to be the person who resolves all the problems, even though it feels manly to do that. And you feel like, oh yeah, I'm the man, so I should be paying for everything. And you have these guys saying like, oh, don't go 50-50, don't go 50-50. You should pay for everything. And you should have her nails on your, you meet her and you should be doing her nails and her hair and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, what did she do before she met you? Right? You got to think about, what would you do if I wasn't here? How would you resolve this if I wasn't here? Well, let's look at that solution first. And then we can get into whether or not I'm going to jump in and help you get it done that way. Because you might have a solution for it that you've been doing. And then if I add a few dollars to it, we still get the same result, as opposed to her picking the most expensive solution and having you pay for it. That can be a problem. So, and when someone's spending your money, they're going to want the best, right? They're always going to go for the most expensive thing, something they couldn't get on their own for sure. And even if they had money to do it normally, they couldn't afford this other higher tier of whatever they're doing. Like, say if they're getting their hair done or whatever, and it's, typically for them, they spend $200, $300 is what they can afford in their budget. When they get you to do it, it's going to be like $700, so they're going to kind of spend your money reckless, but be able to kind of, economize when it's their money. They know how to economize because they're used to doing it. So you have to get that in your mind. Like, you're not there to save them. You're there to create a partnership. And by a partner, you need somebody who's going to work along with you and work within the budget that you have, regardless of how big or small it is. She needs to be able to work within that budget. And if she has a problem with that, then she can go do what she was doing before. The important thing is not to put all of your assets out there. They don't need to know how much money you have in the bank. Sometimes it kind of slips out and they kind of find out. They don't need to know all of the stocks that you own, all of the real estate that you own or whatever. They don't need to know everything. Keep this stuff on a needs to know basis, right? Protect yourself. Remember, you need to protect yourself. You need to protect your money. You don't want to be a tightwad where you're holding on to money so hard that you don't spend anything on her. Treat her. It's your woman. You got to treat her. You got to treat her well, right? But at the same time, you don't want them to get the idea that they can just kind of push you into things that you're not ready to spend, into money that you're not ready to spend, that you're there to buy them luxury items and things that they can't afford. You don't want them to get that idea, because they're going to fall in love with your hand and what your hand can do. And then at that point, they don't love you. You don't find out if they love you. You're finding out how much, if they love what you can give them. You're finding out that they just love what you have and what you can provide for them. And once that provision is done, they're done. The relationship is done. So you don't want to fall into that. So I think it's important for them to know that you're willing to walk away. And I know here in Brazil, we kind of get the knock sometimes, oh, Americans are so cold. And a lot of that comes from is we can say no. This is a society where they don't say no. Like, people will make plans with you knowing that they don't want to participate in the plan. They'll make plans with you, and then the day of, they'll make some excuse why they can't come, but they already knew that when they made the plan. So, they just don't like to say no. It's like taboo to say no. So, so when we as Americans say no, it's already jarring a little bit culturally, because they're not used to that, because you're not making an excuse for why you're saying no, and you're just being kind of bluntly saying, no, this is not what I'm going to do. So they don't really understand that. And then they feel like, oh, you're kind of rejecting them, and they will put on the sad face and all that kind of stuff. And, you kind of fall into that, and you might end up simping a little bit, and you try to make it right or whatever. You don't want to hurt their feelings or whatever like that. But after a while, you realize this is part of the game. This is part of the game that they play. And if it's something important to you, like you need to stay within your budget, you need to live a certain way, and you don't feel comfortable, you got to say no. And you have to be ready to stand on business with this and say, you know what? If you can't understand this, and if you're going to be a pain in the behind about it, I'm willing to walk away, because you're not the only woman in the world. And, sometimes I'll say it depends on how deep the situation gets. I'm going to put it just like that, but normally I try to be nice about it. But if you push me too far, then I'm going to say it the way that I want to say it. I'm a Gemini. That's just the way it comes out. But, these are things that you can keep in mind when you're dating, and you're dating after divorce, and you're an older man. We're living in a little bit different time now. There's a lot that we didn't have maybe when we got married. When I got married, the internet wasn't a thing. It was just starting. Everybody didn't have web pages. Nobody had applications. We didn't have phones with screens on it where we could see how other people live every day, and we could scroll every day and see people going on vacation and riding the jet skis and going on the cruises and all that stuff. We didn't have all of that. So now it's in front of their face 24/7. And so there's this appetite for consumerism and appetite for commercial products and luxury products and the best hotels and the finest foods and the finest restaurants and the finest shoes and all of these luxuries and designer names and all this stuff, because they're trying to present an image of who they are. And so you're going to be dealing with women who are faced with that, and they've got competition from other women who may be putting, it may put pressure on them to feel like, I've got to compete with these other women. Even though they have you, they're probably still a little bit on the market. They're always looking. So, and they always want to look their best, just in case this dude comes along and he's got more money and he's better than you and he's younger than you and he's got a better body than you, and whatever reason they find, and maybe he spends more money than you or whatever, they're still in the market at some level, right? Even if you're married, they're still in the market, it seems like, nowadays, right? Because they're being confronted with this on social media all the time, and it's looking like people live these lifestyles that maybe they don't actually really live. It just looks like it. It's the illusion. And so you might face that. So I ain't going to go on too long here. I just want to jump on here, give some pointers or whatever, talk about it in the comments. I'll comment with you guys and talk with you about it. Like and subscribe to the channel if you can. It's the Big D. Thank you for checking us out today. Have a great one.
Like
Peace.
letters B. Can a man make mistakes? Is he eligible for redemption? Will it really hurt your spirit to make this one exception? If I did you wrong, am I wrong for doing you wrong? If we get back on and make a promise to get along, would you take me back? My bad, I'm back. Would you take me back?